Hello and welcome to the Move Your Business Forward podcast. These talks are hosted by Rob Boll, founder of Evoke Management and CEO of International Leaders UK. He'll be talking with experts from both these companies about issues that affect SME companies today.
Today I'm here with Henry Gewanter, the MD of Positive Profile. So Henry is a PR and communications expert. And today I wanted to have a little chat to him about dealing with difficult conversations that any of us might have faced or could face running our companies or leading a business. Difficult conversations come up, either people surprisingly asking me for a pay rise or a promotion, or all kinds of difficult situations that come up in the workplace or with suppliers and other people that interact with you running a business. Henry, it's difficult, right, to have these conversations. So how do we make ourselves better and more comfortable with approaching these kind of difficult conversations that we have sprung on us?
Well, yes, thank you, Rob. As you know, people can be incredibly awkward and difficult at times. And sometimes as leaders, we have to have these difficult, tricky conversations. I think what you need to bear in mind at all times is, what is it I'm trying to achieve? It's when somebody screws up at work, for example, it's all too easy to say, "Bad doggy, look what you did on the carpet," which is what I used to do with my puppy. But that's just saying you've been bad. It doesn't actually achieve what you want. And as leaders, we should try to inspire people to be better versions of themselves and happier versions. And so rather than that approach of, "Look what a mess you've made," I'd suggest trying to rephrase it in a way that's something like, here's a way where you can be even better at what you're doing. You know, when people are bad at work, you could just say, "Look, you're bad and you really need to, pull your socks up." But that's not really very inspirational, is it, Rob? And so saying, here's a way to be an even better at your job, even better version of yourself. I think that encourages people to make an extra effort or to learn from their mistakes.
So if we think about, I don't know, a toxic employee, maybe someone's got in the business, someone that's rubbing people up the wrong way, just bringing the vibe down and being difficult, whatever the reason. I mean, you've got to approach that person, and ideally they're not a particularly bad person. They've got the capability to do something in the business. That's why you employ them in the first place. How would you suggest approaching someone like that that's causing problems in the business?
Okay, well, that's a tricky one. But if they're really toxic, of course, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and get rid of them. Mm-hmm. But if they perform a valuable function and they're not bad people, they're just not getting on with people well. I find sometimes there are people who sort of bully others or demean them and sort of put them down in the office. That's a frequent source of friction and unhappiness. And for those people, rather than saying, "Look, stop bullying the little kid, will you?" I'd say something like, "You have a very forceful personality, and not everyone finds that easy to deal with. And so I'd like to ask your help in looking after little Johnny, and try and be a little gentler with him if you can, and show him some kindness." And I think that way, you're not it's not a "bad doggy, look what you've done again" sort of thing. Your people will take what you've said as a compliment rather than a criticism. And by asking for their help, it's suggesting that they are a useful, a person that actually can give help. And people generally want to do the right thing in life. So that's the kind of approach I think will often work much better.
And applying this to how we say pay people, for example. So, I mean, ideally we want to pay people for what we can for the job they do and reward people well to motivate them and keep them retain them in the roles they're doing. And it's tricky, but getting that balance is right. So if you're constantly being approached by team members asking for pay rises, or saying, look, other people are getting pay rises, or other companies are giving pay rises, what would be your approach that someone's coming to you directly and saying, I need a pay rise, and it's kind of off out of the blue, you're not really prepared for it? What would you say is a good kind of way to handle that kind of situation?
Well, I'd like to start by complimenting you, Rob, because not everyone wants to pay people a decent wage for the work that they do. I do know of a competitor who actually only wants to pay peanuts and doesn't mind getting monkeys. But having said that, everybody wants a pay rise and a promotion and a big bonus at Christmas and every other day of the year. And the demands for that sort of remuneration will always outstrip a company's ability, well, will almost always outstrip a company's ability to pay. And so you need to think of a way of dealing with the situation in a way that motivates rather than demotivates the employee. So for example, if someone's asking for a pay rise, there are two kinds of employees. There are the really good ones and the not so good ones. Now, for the really good ones, I think instead of saying no, but, try and think of a way of saying yes, and the same for the not so good. Now, for the good ones, you say, yes, and I'd like to give you that pay rise too, because you've worked really hard, you've done a great job, and you talk about mention the achievements that they have accomplished during the review period at the time, and let them know how much you notice, value, and appreciate all the efforts that they have put into the job. And then describe the pathway or the situation or the timing by which time you will be able, or you hope to be able, to give them what they want. You can talk about, you've done a fantastic job and I see a brilliant career ahead of you in this company, and paint that lovely picture of a glorious future for them. For the not so good, again, it's you could just say, I'm terribly sorry, you're not very good at your job, you haven't hit your targets or whatever it is, you don't deserve it. But that's very demotivating, and a happier way forward is, instead of the no but, say, yes, I'd like to give you a pay rise too, and I'd like to sit down and work with you now to plan a way where you can earn such a thing. I want you to have what you want too. That's what this company is all about. So let's work out how you can achieve what it is you want, and then talk about it and say, and you need to turn out 10 more widgets an hour or whatever it is, or deal with the customers in a more profitable way, whatever, and then talk them through, not where they've gone wrong or what they haven't done enough of, but how they can do better or make more of whatever it is they should have done. And that hopefully will inspire them to greatness, and then at some point they will have earned and deserve the pay rise that you'll be able to afford on their higher productivity.
And that makes sense. I think what I see a number of companies doing, Henry, is they might get approached and go, well, yeah, that's going to be discussed in a certain month's time, or it's going to be, they're kind of kicking it down the road rather than addressing it.
The corporate fob off, I call that. Yes.
And I think that's that sometimes is potentially needed, but I think communicating why you're doing that is really important, because I think often it does seem like just, as you say, corporate fob off, where actually there is a reason why you might be in a better position to agree a pay rise in a number of months ahead. But I think it's the communicating of that and getting that clear, which is difficult, because I think often people get put on the spot and expecting to have to justify things. But businesses can only really afford to pay what they can afford based on the state of the business, the profitability, and people doing the right job. So any thoughts around how to kind of kick this down the road in a constructive way, if that makes
Well,
sense.
I mean, I think you've really, I mean, you are an intelligent and experienced man, Rob, and you know what you have just said basically covers it. What all you have to, the missing element is the why.
Yeah.
You know, you have to explain. You know, yes, I'd love to do X for you now, with you now, give you whatever now, but we have to wait. You know, but we have systems in place so that everybody in the company is treated fairly. And we don't have the capacity to deal with an infinite number of X discussions, pay rise, promotion, whatever it is that they're talking about, you know, throughout the year. So we try to have a system that ensures that you and everyone else has a fair deal here at the company, and gets to have a real hearing and a review and a plan for the future, so that you can progress and you can earn the pay rises and promotions that you clearly want and will deserve. Okay, you gotta throw that future tense in.
No, that makes sense. Thank you, Henry. That's good. Thanks for sharing some of that stuff. I wanted to just ask about a few other scenarios, and I know you like being put on the spot, so we can see how you handle these things. I think at the moment, a lot of companies are in need to either put their prices up or adjust prices in line with things that are costing them more money, which is tricky because we know every business is finding the increase in costs and an impact that has. But let's say you've decided that the business has to put the prices up. You're going to start talking to some of your customers about the fact that they've been paying a certain level for so long, and now we need to put the price up. What would be your top tips in terms of approaching those kind of conversations and, you know, the blunt kind of no's and difficult responses, approaches to maybe handle them? And I know you like being put on the spot, so hopefully.
Thank you for putting me on the spot at short notice. No notice at all, Rob. But yes, that is a problem, particularly relevant for right now. I mean, there are all kinds of supply chain issues because of the war in Ukraine and oil supplies and all kinds of issues that all intermix. And I think, again, with any kind of conversation that's difficult, it's generally better to be honest, open, and direct with people, in my view. I think too many companies, you may have read these, and there are articles in the newspapers all the time about shrinking products. You know, the chocolate bars that stay the same price but just get smaller and smaller, the loaves of bread, you know, all kinds of things, particularly in the food industry. They leave the box the same size, but the thing inside, when you open it up, gets tinier and tinier.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of shrinkage, I understand why they do it. No one likes to pay more. If you're used to paying £1 for X, why would you want to pay more than £1? And so just shrinking the chocolate bar is a way of achieving price stability, but it's actually cheating people. Okay, you know, that's the point. Toothpaste tubes that are half empty is not a tube of toothpaste, it's a half a tube. And so I think it's far better to actually explain to your clients what's been going on, what the impact has been on the company and the products or services that you provide to them, and why you need to raise your prices, and just apologize. I mean, it's kind of like the same as crisis management. You know, you work out what's wrong, you apologize for whatever happened, and you say, I'm going to try and fix it. And there's no reason why, just because prices have to go up now, that they have to continue to go up or stay up. You can always say, and as soon as the price of oil comes back to a normal level, or the whatever it is that's causing your issues, you can say, well, we're hoping to be able to cut our prices. Okay, it's better not to, I promise I will cut them, but if it's say an oil related product and that price of oil is what's forcing your hand, there's no reason not to promise that as soon as the oil price drops to X or to back to what it used to be, I promise you, I will cut my prices again to what you used to pay. And I think that kind of honest, open approach, people really they not only have to accept it, but I think they appreciate it because it shows that you're treating them like a partner, not like a punter.
And I think that's a really good point, Henry, and makes a lot of sense. I think one of the challenges is going to be some of these price increases aren't gonna really go backwards. Some of the reasons is you've got to hire people that
Labor costs are not going down, that's for sure.
And some of these things you just got to say, look, and I appreciate, we are having to pay people more. To deliver the top level of quality of service is costing us more. Therefore, we're going to have to impact.
Absolutely, but what you can add is, we're only increasing our prices the bare minimum we have to continue giving you the products and services that you deserve.
Yep.
And I think that's that's a fair point. I think most prices will have to rise and will have to stay high because inflation is high, and that means everything involved in everything is going to increase and stay that way. I don't see a big deflationary downward spiral. So I think you're right, Rob. Prices will stay up, but their ability to pay the higher prices will become easier too, because everybody, as money becomes worth less, we all have more of it.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. And then I guess final thing, Henry, be good to talk about. You're obviously an expert in crisis management for people often doing things in the public space. But I think there's going to be a number of businesses that are struggling with array of things at the moment in terms of costs and cash flow and losing customers and things dropping out. What would be your kind of top tips for communicating the kind of state of play to your team? Because I think a lot of businesses are meant to show, yeah, we're all good, no problem, but it's going to be obvious to some people in the team that you've just lost a big supplier, or people are more stressed out, or things don't seem to be happening as they normally do. What would be your top tips in kind of communicating these kind of situations and either keeping teams motivated, but I guess being honest at the same time? I mean, have you got any thoughts around that?
Yes, that is a very tricky one. But it's one that I have lived through on several economic and stock market cycles. I've worked for two of Britain's top 3 PR firms, and financial PR firms like those are supposed to be experts in economic and financial matters. And it always amazed me that there tends to be a stock market crash every 7 years or so. And as soon as there was a crash, these companies would suddenly be like totally surprised and would end up going bust, and then firing everyone and then phoenixing up again. And it just struck me as amazing that they didn't plan ahead. Now, when I set up my company, I swore that I would, and I saved up a lot of money. So when we did have a stock market crash, I was in the fortunate position of being able to tell people, listen, our clients are dropping like flies, things are grim, but we've saved a lot of money over the years, and nobody's going to get fired. We're good. The market's always bounce back within a year or so. We've got enough to tide us over. Keep plugging away and we'll all be okay. Now, that's a very rare situation. Most companies just go bust when things are bad. Well, many companies go bust. And I think for them, again, just an open, honest discussion to say, look, things, as you know, we have now lost our major client, or 5 of them, or we've lost a lot of business. income is down. We're now starting to make, losses, which are unsustainable. And I'm afraid we're going to have to make some changes to reduce our overheads. And unfortunately, that may mean that you or some of you may have to be let go. Now, I worked for a company that knew they were going to have to fire somebody. And it was the run up to Christmas. And I remember the managing director just saying, well, I'm not going to tell him until after Christmas because I don't want to ruin his Christmas. And this was like, I don't know, 6-8 weeks before Christmas. And I said, no, that's not right. You should tell him right now, so he doesn't go out and spend a lot of money buying presents he won't be able to afford and going on a holiday that will eat up his savings. Tell him now. Now, not everyone takes my advice, Rob. This may shock and surprise you, but he didn't take my advice. He waited until after Christmas. And the first thing the guy said was, I wish you told me before Christmas. So I would say, with any difficult conversation, the easiest thing, what human nature, has programmed us to do is to just do nothing, to put it off, to stall and delay that evil moment when you have to bite the bullet and do something awkward, embarrassing, difficult, whatever. And as leaders, it's important that we not do that. We have to lead from the front, and we have to live up to the responsibilities of our position in life. And that means tackling problems straight away as they occur, not putting them off. So, sit people down, explain, I'm terribly sorry, but we're going to have to make your position redundant because we're losing money. And everyone will have whatever the contract terms are. If you can afford to be a bit more generous, a little bit more lenient, that's a good thing. But if not, just tell them, and of course we will honor your contract, and you're on X 3 months notice, 1 month, whatever it is. And of course we're going to honor it. And I understand, if you want to start looking for work now, rather than waiting until the end of the notice period, that's perfect. Please feel free to use the office phone to make calls, to print CVs, whatever you need. We are here to try and help you.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Henry, thank you. I think really good points there, and just illustration of how to approach these things. And you're right, these things just need to be addressed. And I kind of feel in some ways that story you just told about the before after Christmas. I mean, that leader of the business is going to have something hanging over them over Christmas, knowing that's the first thing they've got to do after Christmas. And
yeah, because it ruined his Christmas too, I'm sure.
Exactly. We're out of time for this, and I really appreciate you sharing some thoughts on this. I feel bits of this is a bit doom and gloom, but I think actually there's some serious conversations and bits of communication people have at the moment. So I really appreciate your thoughts and suggestions on that, and hopefully we could do another talk on more positive bits of.
Thank you very much for having me, Rob. I've enjoyed chatting with you today, and be very, very happy to come back for another occasion.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like more information about the topics discussed in this podcast, then you can find us on our website at moveyourbusinessforward.com.